Oh, I don't know. Well, all right, folks. Hello there. It's Thursday. It's Richie. I'm out here in front of the zombie and soul and life sucking vampire infested death chamber. And I'm focusing primarily here on Angie upstairs, who has been through so much stress and anxiety because of all of the chaos that has ensued between my roommate and I, which I'm going to go into great detail to discuss here next. But she's been basically a panicked wreck, having a hard time taking care of her kids and enduring a lot of unnecessary stress and anxiety for months now. And this all could have been resolved basically in probably, I don't know, the 20th of July, probably, if they just did the right thing. But no, here we are, months later. Total disaster. She's ready to have a nervous breakdown because she's just completely run out of steam, and I think she deserves like some serious relief for a while. So, what this video is going to amount to, here I am again. So, I have quite a production in store here, folks. I've spent probably the past hour and a half getting ready for it, and I don't think I'm going to actually make my projected presentation time because of the somewhat elaborate lengths I've had to go to here. But first of all, I want everybody to know I'm in good spirits, and I'm going to explain a lot of things to people that I've tried to explain to other people many times, and I just kind of give up, and I'm not going to bother anymore. But first of all, I don't lie about anything. I never have. I never will. That's because it's completely contrary to my principles and my character and all of the important, valuable lessons that were taught to me by my parents, my grandparents, and my aunts and my uncles, and many other people that I have really gravitated towards over my life that you just could not take seriously. For example, my friend Kirsten Trulson, who was the next door neighbor of my friend on 65th Place, where all of the legal cloak and dagger horse shit was going down. Well, she actually had a sanctuary for me because she lived in a two-unit apartment building and kept the bottom unit always vacant. And there's a back door in the alley. And Steve, my friend, Steve Taub, who lives next door, went through hell because he was helping me because he has little cabinets in the back of his building, and he was letting me put a lot of my things there that I needed when I needed them quickly, my detailing supplies, maybe a quick change of clothes. Because the whole point of this whole exercise over there, after I had gotten kicked out of my house, I don't know, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times because of police being sent after me, probably most of the time, I'm not going to give him credit for that. I think there's several that basically had alternative motives, we'll say. And I think particularly the circumstance that occurred at my friend Eric Wilson's house, if I had actually put up a fuss, I probably would have had a couple of bullets in my face. And that's frankly the fact of the matter. So that's the way I at least feel about it, at least the way it's been handled by the police commission, uh, the FBI, the non existent district attorney phenomena. I don't know what to call it. Long Beach has existed in this independent bubble of a complete lack and vacuum of personal responsibility because they have their own little world here. Uh, it's called Little Chicago for a reason, and it's been that way for probably 30 years. I don't know. I could be wrong about that. I didn't honestly get directly involved until they came after me and attacked me for trying to start Long Beach Radio and Television. Oh, I don't know. How long has it been now? The whole idea was to help protect the community in emergencies and introduce a somewhat more utilitarian system and the concept of positive suggestion. My general philosophy about succeeding in life is that I like to have a value that something that I'm doing benefits the community, and I always try to share. And that's my basic philosophy because there's a lot I need to discuss here, so I'm going to try to boil things down. I don't want anyone to think I'm angry. I'm actually hungry, and I finally have some money, and I need to go run a bunch of errands, and I just kind of been going to a lot of effort to get this ready. And I actually brushed my teeth, but I need to give my teeth a strawberry mash soaking because strawberries are a very natural way to brighten your teeth because they contain an acid that doesn't harm your enamel. So I try to periodically do that when I can afford strawberries. So there's going to be several reasons for this video. What I'm going to do basically is give everybody a tour of the vampire infested death chamber so I can make a recording of all of the horrendous conditions, because apparently it's never going to happen unless I take the initiative, which seems to be my job for, I don't know, 15 years. So basically I'd like to go and take care of the things they need to do. Part of the purpose of this video is to let the family back in Michigan know that I got to shave the beard. It's hot. I was going to keep it and groom it, but to be quite honest, I can't afford to go to the barber, and I don't have any trimmers. People need to understand something. I have struggled on pennies for weeks and weeks and weeks, and been completely unable to earn a living. Now, everybody, I don't know if you can tell, but I have serious nasal sinus congestion. My lungs are only at about half capacity right now. I'm hacking up yellow goo. It looks like wood glue, okay, from every conceivable part of my body, at least it's respiratory, because my apartment is so disgusting. It's so full of mold, so full of dust, so unkempt. You guys are going to be shocked when you see the conditions in this place, because what's been really going on here is the people that own the building, not so much the wife. I think she's been kind of ancillary in this, probably not completely informed. The landlord has always put it upon the tenants to split the cost of any upgrades, whether it's new carpeting or new light fixtures or new appliances or whatever. So people that are here struggling to earn a living now are being forced to assume the costs of legitimate expenses. So one of the reasons our unit is in such paltry condition, as well as my neighbor Mike, who's had half-ass improvements done in his unit, we'll just put it that way. One of the main purposes of this video is to show how the property owner, whose dune buggy, by the way, is parked in the garage and it leaks gas fumes all the time. And for a long time, well, basically that's a hazard. I'm going to back up a little bit here. So I want to basically explain some of the more dramatic reasons for this somewhat titanic battle between my roommate and I. My roommate Chuck has been a long and dear friend of mine for a very long time. We actually lived on the other side of the shore here before we moved here together over 20 years ago, because our building got sold. And we moved in and we were both single guys, and I was falling downhill from alcohol. When we moved in, I was probably 3 years away from basically death. And I ended up moving out because I couldn't afford to live here. I was basically depressed. I got disillusioned and I started medicating with alcohol, and it just put me on a death spiral. I had the shakes so bad, folks. If I didn't have vodka for breakfast, I couldn't hold a cup of coffee. Excuse me, a cup of coffee with two hands without shaking so much. I spilled it all over myself. And you look at my hands. I'm a little nervous right now, but I don't shake. I've been drinking coffee, and I gotta admit, I'm a little wound up. But thanks to my family, and frankly, Chuck had been watching me crumble, and he finally made that call. And my family came out here from Paris, up there in New Hope Valley. Thank you very much. And they rescued me, and I had the time to calm myself down and taper off my alcohol, because trying to go cold turkey with anything, people are so petrified from the condition you go through that they think they're going to die. And I like a lot of people to know that once your tolerance is gone, you're not having any fun. I don't care what you're taking. You're just trying to stay alive, okay? I wake up in the morning in a shambles, thinking I was going to die from the shakes. And the only thing I needed was vodka so I could settle down and have some breakfast and some coffee, okay? That's how bad it gets. And so I think people should be much more sympathetic to all of the victims that have been preyed upon and had these terrible mental states and then physical addictions basically thrust on them. That's the way I look at it, okay? I don't consider myself an alcoholic. I consider myself a survivor of alcoholism. And it's way in my rear window, all right? I DJ'd a year after, immediately came back here where I fell down to stand myself up around the people that saw me fall down. And I think I did a pretty good job. When I first came back, my friends trusted me enough to let me be the caretaker for their grandmother. All right. And then I immediately started DJing again. Okay. I was gone a year. I came back. I was DJing a year after I quit drinking. And you know what? I don't want to drink. I don't have any problem with it. I'll admit, everybody, I smoke weed, keeps me mellow, helps me center myself. I smoke cigarettes too, frankly, because for the same reason. Tobacco naturally actually is something of a mild sedative, like sage or other things. And if anyone can recall seeing an admiral or a general in the middle of battle on the bridge, and they got this smoking cigar clenched in their teeth, they're not sitting there toking on it. They're infusing the air with it because it helps them relax while they're pumping their body full of Navy coffee so they can react. All right, that's the reason for it. Okay, so that's why I smoke. I try to smoke quality tobacco, not the cheap stuff that's basically killing people. All right, so back to Chuck. So Chuck has been under a lot of stress. He raised an incredible daughter. Everyone in this neighborhood will tell you Chuck is probably one of the best dads ever. Okay, Paulina is on her way to becoming a champion woman, and I'm very proud of my friend. He's been dealing with a lot of stress, and now that they've introduced this, what I consider toxic wax crap, he was reaching to it to calm himself down. It does give you this kind of effect, but good God, it was just doing awful damage to his brain. And I started telling him, man, dude, you got to knock it off. You got to knock it off. Then he started getting angry and started getting angry and started getting angry, and it just kept accelerating. And then finally we had this incident where my poor struggling roommate, who's had basically, unfortunately, a stash of probably 40 high velocity mortar fireworks and I think 200 bottle rockets in the cabinet in the garage under Angie's dining room. And well, he decided to make some money. He was going to take these 5-year-old explosives and sell them to somebody on the 4th of July. And that person obviously was wise enough to know that decayed gunpowder and other things are not good to have around. So basically, they sat on the dining room floor for I don't know how long, while my now addicted roommate was smoking wax with a defective plumber's torch repeatedly. At one point, I tried to remove them and put them on the back patio, and by that time, in his state, we got in a very violent argument because he didn't want them to be damaged and insisted on them coming back in the house. So I'm going to make it very long and short, folks. I'm going to try to make this very simple. My roommate was falling downhill. He was making really poor choices, and he was making reckless decisions that I knew if I didn't find some way to avert them, it was going to cause great harm to a lot of people in the building, given the conditions of the electrical outlets and all these other hazards that we have in our unit, which the landlord has put on me to fix for no compensation. Okay, this is this guy. This is his philosophy. This is Mr. I got to cover my expenses. I got my RV. I want to go out and play. Mr. Peter Pan. Okay, never grew up, never had a real job. So I'm going to basically try to wind this down and give everybody basically the program here. So what we're going to see, man, I'm sorry. I'm ready for a nice salad and some, man, they got this. All right, I don't want to, I'm digressing because I'm hungry. So what we're going to see is a quick tour of my apartment, and I'm going to show people the different conditions. And I got to give my roommate a little bit of a fiat here. He isn't the most fastidious person, and that just kind of is what it is. And I frankly am. I like to live in what I call Zen elegance, very comfortable, very textural, very colorful, very soothing to my soul the moment I walk in the door. But again, I digress. So what's going to happen here is I'm going to walk in, and I'm going to just kind of videotape everything. And then I'm going to take my flashlight here. By the way, Steve Downey, good friend of mine, former deputy chief of the LAPD, writes for the Beachcomber. What I'm doing right now is I'm giving you guys a demonstration of what I'm going to do when I walk into the unit. I'm going to show you visually many things. And what you want, I'm going to do this, I'm going to try and do this slowly. Oh, by the way, this is what Angie's kids did the other day. Love the stuff. Look how talented these two kids are. Look at that. Is that beautiful? It makes my heart sing to just see all this out here. And the little, look at the table. Look at the table. Okay, so I'm again digressing. So basically, as I walk into the apartment, I'm going to give you the visual inspection of the hazardous and somewhat very unhealthy and what you might call an absentee owner gross negligence, and at this point, reckless endangerment. Because what ended up happening was I couldn't get the explosives out of the house. 4 months ago, I had to sit down with the landlord after sending him numerous emails saying we need to deal with my roommate because he's hurting himself, he's getting sick. They blew it off. Literally, we sat in their living room, him and his wife, discussing my friend's condition and how I'm dealing with a lot of stuff and I need to move. Of course, they blew it all off. So now this was I guess it was probably the end of July, to give them some credit. So we've had this downhill slide. My roommate's been falling in the hole, and he's been crumbling. And I'm like, it's breaking my heart because he's like my big brother. I've never had a big brother. Okay, I got friends that are close. My friend Trav, he's my bro, and him and I were just like a dynamic pair of just hilarity. So I hope to see him soon, and Joe and Joey. So either way, again, I'm friendly digressing here. It's been a while. So it was, by the way, my friend Travis's grandmother that I was the caretaker for, and she was a fabulous character, a very short, feisty woman nicknamed Biggs, famous jumping for. She would jump in the bay before the sun came up with all the other polar bears, and she was a legend in this town. But either way, so it's gonna take forever to upload this, by the way, so I need to wrap it up. So you're gonna see the conditions of my apartment, and I'm gonna show you many things that have not been taken care of. Well, of particular interest is going to be the leak that was formed around my chimney that goes through my ceiling. They went to the trouble of having somebody go on the roof and fix the leak, but they made no effort to fix the broken ceiling and all of its condition. Okay, we've got this. It's a disaster, folks. I mean, I have struggled mightily to keep this place clean. So has my roommate, and it's like a dust-filled zone because of the shit they got on the ceiling. It's constantly disintegrating. I can't keep up with it. Same thing with the bathroom. Okay, I'm going to show you guys our bathroom. I'm going to leave you out of Chuck's bathroom downstairs. That's his little sanctuary, so I think we're going to respect that. I'm also going to keep his bedroom door shut, but I want everybody to pay attention to all of the stuff he bought for his daughter that is everywhere in the house. Okay, everything. The place is full of stuff that he bought for his kid because he was just so enthusiastic. And then I want to show you the door frame to Chuck's bedroom, which used to be hers, and Chuck was in the other one that I'm now in, which was my last bedroom before I left and quit drinking. And when I came back, I ended up in there. By the way, my friend Kirsten, who was a very dynamic Renaissance woman and was helping me because we basically had to keep it a secret at this point that I had a real place to live. She was such a dear friend. She left me $10,000 when she passed, and that's what enabled me to move in here. It was going to be temporary. I was going to try and get another place, but you know the usual suspects by now. Nothing comes easy in this fucking town. So either way, so Chuck let me come in, and I ended up right back in my first room. It was crazy, but it was like this beautiful circle. And I think my circle here is over. I'm gonna be honest, folks. I'm leaving Long Beach. No, I'm out of here. But I'm not going to leave you guys hanging. If these people get their shit together, and they actually want to do this whole thing I'm talking about with transferring the airport, move all that offshore, and actually trying to create a permanent track for the Long Beach Grand Prix with testing and development. Maybe what was I talking about? The 24 hours of Long Beach season finale. Come on, feel me with this, folks. I'm not going to give up on that. Never. So I'd be delighted to do that. So, um, yeah, I'm not going to give up on very meaningful stuff like that because I don't make promises or come up with things like that and then just throw them away. That's too important, and I really be proud to do that. So I'm putting that out there for everybody. And whatever happens with the usual suspects, they brought it on themselves. Okay, at this point I have zero sympathy for them, and I want people to understand something very clearly. Okay, first of all, my landlords and the property manager, instead of handling the situation, tried to turn me into the villain. Okay, we got Deborah Guerrero and Fred Sparvon telling the police I'm a hazard because of my little fire pit over there. You see my fire pit? I want to show everybody this. This is the dreaded fire pit. Okay, this was made by my friends and their son. He made this custom as his welding class project. And since they didn't have a lot of room over there, I got kicked around for a while, and I asked him to borrow it, and he let me have it. Okay, this is the dreaded fire pit. Okay, this is my safety measures. Okay, folks, I have a beefy hose over here, and this is where the pit sits. Okay, usually the wood's over there. All right, we got a line there. I had another one in the garage, but it blew out. We got a faucet over here. We got an extinguisher here and an extinguisher there, and they might still be legal. Okay, this is the hazard I am. Okay, this is what I've been dealing with. Okay, so they're telling the cops I'm a hazard, and I'm telling Deborah Guerrero that I'm going to call the inspectors, and I'm going to call the fire department, and the conditions are terrible, and I'm going to sue everybody. And she's telling the cops I'm harassing her. Okay, and then she just completely disappears. I mean, for months now, I've been begging to just escape this prison, and I can't even get my rental deposit. Okay, 3 times I've been told I'm going to get it, and then she just disappears and blocks my emails. I mean, I've been putting them all over Facebook. Okay, this is the situation. I went all the way over to Fred's house trying to work this out. Rang the doorbell. He's got the Ring camera. What does he do? Locks a deadbolt in my face. I had to turn around and walk away. Okay, this is what I'm dealing with. Okay. Meanwhile, I'm under constant attack. I'm getting sick. I can't earn a living. I can't even escape this fucking prison. Okay, this is how Long Beach rolls. That's why I'm sick of these fucking people. Again, I digress. So I don't want to get heated. I need to light my cigarette and relax a little bit. So these are the facts of life, folks. And if you're not comfortable with it, you need to grow up. And that's basically the way it is because people have been Hold on. I'm not going to coddle people anymore. Hold on. The reason we're all in such a shithole is because the adults in the room don't seem to want to carry their own mud. And that's the bottom line. You know, you're all going to suffer until you grow up. Because nature's regulator is pain. Pain, pain, pain in your foot, in your brain, in your heart. If you feel a lot of pain, you're fucking up. So think about it, all right? That's why it's there. I enjoy pain. It just keeps me on the straight and narrow, and I like inflicting it on people that deserve it. And let me tell you, when this video is over, there's gonna be a lot of people feeling a whole lot of pain. I guarantee you that. So, um, yeah. So where am I at here? All right. So I'm gonna give you the tour, and you're gonna see the conditions, and then I'm gonna give you a demonstration of the things I do to keep myself healthy, because it's what's kept me alive, and it's basically based on a philosophy I adopted when I quit drinking. I'm going to try to limit as much as I possible, unnatural as much as I possibly can, putting anything unnatural in or on my body, okay? And see how I felt. Using myself, my mind, my body as a laboratory. I drink distilled water because it's just pure water. People are like, why are you doing that? I'm like, because it's just H2O. I drink it, I'm instantly hydrated. Okay, you put stuff in your water, it takes your body forever to metabolize it. All right, it's called chemistry, biology. And I only use natural supplements. I only use a few. I use a mineralized salt, which it's probably about the best. It's one of the top three, and it's very well known. And I use an iodine supplement to keep my glandular system in operation. And I have outstanding testosterone levels and energy because my testicles have their natural ability to create testosterone. All right, that's why I have so much vitality. So it isn't a big mystery, folks. And then I want to show you guys something that I used in the aftermath of the pandemic. I couldn't shake the symptoms, and I got something for this fungus I can't get off my big toe. And I started taking it, and wham, man! The side effects of the COVID just disappeared. Literally, like the next morning after I brushed this stuff on my toes, I got it at the Rite Aid. It's for treating oh, I gotta show you the label. I can't remember right now. You can buy it. It's in like Lotrimin, okay? And this stuff came with a bristle brush. You brush it on your toenails. I have to tell you, it wiped it right out. The next morning, I felt better. 3 days later, it was gone. 2 days later, I was feeling completely rejuvenated, okay? And I've used it periodically since then to rejuvenate myself, and it works. I apply it on my toenails and my extremities for, I don't know, 3 or 4 nights after I take a shower. I feel better. I shake off the fleas. You know, it's like blood purification basically, which is why our ancestors did it. You know, I'm going to give everybody some priceless advice that our ancestors knew that I learned from Manly Hall. That the 3 keys to a healthy living are regular relaxation, elimination, and blood purification. And what that basically amounts to today is try to periodically detox, maybe fast, you know, but drink some water, eat some bread. Don't just wipe yourself out. But you got to basically let your body do what's called transit. Let the things get out and then introduce healthy stuff. And if you can manage to do that when you're feeling bloated and other things, you'll always be healthy. You know, it's all about a natural, healthy diet. So I'm going to show you the things I use now to stay healthy and the things that I've used to maintain my health. And the only other things I don't have, which I can afford to get when I can't afford to get, are colloidal gold, which is incredibly vital for your cardiovascular system and your heart, and colloidal silver, which is incredibly valuable for your neurological system, your mind, your brain. Silver is the best conductor of electricity that we can actually digest, which is why silver is in all the pricey silverware drawers, if you kind of get where I'm going with it. All right, so everybody's going to get a view of what I use to take care of myself. And then you're also going to get a view of some of my capabilities, because I think a lot of people have spent a long time underestimating me. And so what I'm going to give you guys is a window into the tools I have, some of them, so that people can understand what they've been dealing with since I got involved and what I've refined. So I'm just going to give you a peek. So I'm going to show you some of my capabilities. Now I'm going to show you a computer I have. I have the components, but I didn't bother plugging them in. I'm going to turn on the one device to show you that it actually functions. But I'm not turning on my computer. But what I have is an HP Pavilion gaming laptop that already came with high-speed graphics chips, and I beefed it up like you wouldn't believe. And I have it configured with what is known as a radio frequency spectrum analyzer. That when it is plugged into my computer and I got it configured with the right software and the right antennas, of which I can use 2 at a time, one of them can give me a 360-degree view of everything going on around me on my computer screen. And then I can basically select different sections of activity coming across the radio frequency band and record them in short segments, like say 10 seconds. And then my software will take that file and it will spread it out into like microseconds. And then you will see in what is kind of similar to like a waterfall display, all these individual transmissions. And then I can click on that. And then via the internet, it will tell me what the device was, who manufactured it, and in some cases, what it just did. Like you used your Motorola remote control to turn your TV off, and the model number and the factory. It's all out there, and it's not a big secret. Okay, this is basically what's called counterintelligence. Okay, I've evolved into what amounts to a counter-terrorist expert. This is what I got to do to stay alive, folks. But thanks to my dad, who I'll have everybody know was a classified communications equipment technician for the Air Force. And I qualified to be a nuclear engineer on a submarine for the Navy, wanting to fly F-18s with, believe it or not, buds as my second choice because I weighed 185 and I was pretty hammered. I've been building houses with a 21 ounce S-wing framing hammer since I was 16. So that's the kind of condition I was in. I may not have made it the first time, maybe not the second, but I'm pretty sure I would have made it. And I'm going to be honest about something, folks. I declined joining the Navy because I didn't want to be stuck in a submarine. I wanted to fly. I knew that they were going to make me do what I didn't want to do. And I just moved to California. I'm like, well, if I can't do that, I'm just going to try and enjoy life for a while. I did try to join the Coast Guard because I love those guys, and they were being a little finicky at the time. All right,